So I was gonna do the octopus haircut. I'm still gonna do that. I'm gonna do a little bit shorter version. The mannequin that I chose today had a previous bang. I like the side bang, and I wanted to kind of talk about how I would go about incorporating somebody that had a bang into this haircut, and then also doing a little bit shorter version of the octopus haircut. So there's not a lot of hair on this mannequin, but the technique is what we really want to break down. I want to get into the shifts that you would make within a haircut that you could apply to anybody, right? So when we talk about technique and what we're doing, it's all about being able to adapt to the client in our chair. This mannequin might not mimic your hair, or it might not mimic the specific guest that you're thinking of, but if you use the technique that I'm talking about, you can do this on everybody and adapt to it. We're gonna do the FSE basic sectioning. So if you guys are a part of the FSE Virtual Cutting Club, you guys know what I'm talking about. We've got a nice center parting. Now, she has a side part, so you can see that this bit here is shorter than this side here. That's okay, we're gonna make some adjustments. I'm gonna keep her side parting in there, but for the sake of the haircut, I like to section it, the basic sectioning every single time, so that I'm aware of exactly where I'm at in the haircut and everything is symmetrical. Then you can always cut things asymmetrical, if that makes sense. So I never really think that I need to section asymmetrically to do an asymmetrical haircut. Now we're going to section front and back. This here, apex, high point of the head, right? Maybe a little bit higher, right there, apex. Then we've got high crown, then we've got mid crown, and we've got low crown, right? So those are the three areas that I'm thinking about. I wanna go from high crown down to the hairline behind the ear. And I'll section through, comb that hair forward. I'll use the tight teeth of my comb to keep my sections even cleaner and tighter as I comb it over. All of this hair is the same density. Here, top of the crown, down, following the hairline to here. All of this hair is the same density, and all of this hair is the same density. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So there we go, we've separated front and back. Clip away the back because we're not gonna start in the back, and we're gonna start by working in the front. So now that I've separated the front and back, I'm gonna come across the parietal ridge, which is the round of the head right here. Actually, I'm gonna go just a little bit deeper than that. There we go. So we section out our length. That's gonna be a disconnect. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. This is the hair that we're gonna be working with and cutting at the beginning of this cut. Do a little pretty braid there. So here's our sectioning. Section away the top, then you've got a disconnected bottom, and then you've got the back of the head. If I want to build that side bang into this, then that's where I want to decide where I'm going to part the hair. So what I'm going to do here is on this side, I'm going to part just like that. And then we're going to work a little bit of an asymmetrical top now that we're all sectioned out. So we've got our side parting. So my goal with this haircut is to add a little bit of feathering to it. So I want to layer it, feather it back. So I got to give it some elevation. Anytime you need, you're going to do layers, you got to elevate, right? So as I work through her hair, I'm going to take diagonal partings, just like this, section the rest away, and I'm going to bring this and elevate it out from the head. I want to go from the exterior in. So I'm going to push this hair over top of the parting and give myself a little bit of elevation. I don't want to be parallel with her forehead like this because that'll give me too many layers around the forehead. Just in this particular cut, I want to have a little bit of weight on the top end of this section. So I'll go up, it'll layer right in this area, and then a little bit of graduation up towards that part of the section. So here we go. Bring this out over top of the forehead, over top of that parting anyways. And then when that drops down, you'll get a little bit of a broken edge, a soft edge to the bang, but it's not too heavy, but you get that heaviness just on the top. That's where the elevation started to turn into graduation. So now go from having it here to taking it here, like that. Push this over top of that parting. Using the previous section as a guide, keeping everything stationary. Now, part of the process that I want you to think about with this, as I'm pushing this hair over, not only am I gaining length on the one side, you start to see how it gets longer, but this hair here is on a different part of the round. So the round of the head goes around like this. So it quickly, in this part of the section, becomes way further away. So it's going to go from just slightly getting longer to getting real long quick. So you gotta be aware of that. And if you don't want it to drop real fast and you wanted to kind of keep this fringe hugging her eyebrow, you didn't want a long tail on the end of it, then you could go into more of a traveling guide throughout this fringe. So be aware of that as you're going through it. You don't have to stay the course of a traveling guide the whole time. So here, bring this over. If I'm staying with the stationary guide, I'm going to come to this point here and cut. And for now, I'm gonna stay there. Look how fast it's starting to get longer. If you didn't stay stationary and you go to not section 1, which is here, you went to section 2 and cut it there, drop it. A much more seamless feel. Still get the length, but it's not pushing too much length to the side. You can see how the fringe is starting to build, but not only are we working the fringe at this point, we are also starting to get into the layering that's gonna happen on the side here, okay? So it's important to make sure we keep this disconnection. If you don't have this disconnection on the bottom and you continue through the way we're going to, you're gonna start to lose length in the front. And that is not the goal. We wanna keep this length, okay? Now this hair is gonna fall to the side here. So that's kind of what I want you to be aware of is as we're cutting this, that's all going now into the side. How short you go on the sides, depending on the haircut you're looking to get. We're gonna go a little bit shorter in this area, but I wanted to do a shorter version of the Octopus haircut. So now I comb that out, I keep my length, but I have layers in the side here. And we're gonna blow this dry and then I'm gonna cut into this length. So we did the one side, you can see, nice side parting. And then we'll work through here. So there's the disconnect. It goes from diagonal forward to more vertical towards the back. And this will be right over the parting as well. Honestly, I can just condense this and bring it up. As long as you can see that guide through there. And I wanna soften this a little bit, so I'm gonna point cut. Because that will, when it falls, just allow it to not lay super heavy. And because this is gonna be just a little bit of short hair for now, I don't want it to be too heavy over there. It gets a little nerve-wracking when you start to see like shorter hair and then longer hair, that disconnect. But that to me is the exciting part of kind of piecing all this stuff together and having a plan. So, all right, so let's cut into the back. This hair I brought all the way over here, right? And I cut it like this. So that's a vertical hold, right? If I shift that horizontal hold now and I take a section horizontally, I should see a line that looks kind of like that. So I can take that line and I can use it as a guideline to bring the back up and over. I'm going to literally just point cut through the back and layer it up. And we're gonna do more of that dry as well, but I comb it all to the side like that. And I'm going to take a section across the back, comb it up, bring it into some of the top, using that as a guideline. And this is where I just want to build texture into this cut. By over directing it to the front, it's working its way around the round of the head and getting longer into the back. So it connects it like that, gives it layering, but it definitely is a little bit longer towards the back. So that, just do a couple cuts in the crown. You could even take out the crown and pull it forward, and then we're gonna cut into the back and the bottom when it's dry. You'll start to see how this turns kind of like into an octopus right before your eyes. Because you've got the body, the heaviness, and then the longer pieces. Biggest difference between the octopus layered haircut and the butterfly, I think, is length. So you see that kind of buildup of weight. Watch this. You see that? And then as I comb it back, it falls nice and sleek because it's cut to fall back like that. That's the biggest difference. So I'm giving it a little bend on the edges, just like that. You can see how it falls nice and soft when you just give it a little bend. I basically pretend like I'm wrapping it around her cheek. Now I'm smoothing this to cut it, not to style it, okay? So there's a difference in, this is not what I want the end style to look like. That little bit of heaviness right there. I can see how skinny the ends look, all that stuff. So see the steps a little bit when this falls forward? That's because she's not supposed to wear it forward. But I'll show you guys a couple of little tricks with this guy to take that away. This, I'll start combing the hair kind of where it's gonna live. This is why it's so great to iron the hair out, because I can see right here is where it gets a little thick. It obviously gets thick because I talked about it at the beginning. When you over direct all the hair to this point, the heaviest point is gonna be when it rounds this corner. So as soon as it rounds this corner, you get a drop off of weight. You can just let this kind of fall the way it does, and then just take, let's say, your TriRazor here and just work a little bit of that length off and do that detail work by pinching and cutting. So look at the heaviness a little bit right there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this hair, I can come in with the 25 texture side and just work a little bit of that hair out, and then start to work that line out as well. Here, 25 texture. And it just softens everything. And this, I understand people saying that they're not a fan of razor cutting because it gives flyaways. I just did this entire haircut with a scissor, right? And with blunt lines. So most of it looks very, very polished. So going in with the razor just adds a little bit of that texture and movement to it. I think of this like as the scissor as the pencil. This is to smudge it, like when you smudge a line with your finger if you're an artist. On this side, it's a little more of an extreme disconnection because we had a shorter amount of hair and getting cut a little bit shorter. So what I'll do is come in here, and I still want to keep that kind of octopus type appearance in this cut, but just blending. Now look at that, look at the tentacles, the head of the octopus here. You can kind of see how that's starting to go through. All right, I'm gonna finish it up. Little texture spray in there. So this is spray wax, definitely my all-time favorite texture spray. Then I can kind of work my hands into it. I hope you guys like it.